Please be seated. Is the government ready to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The government calls Cassandra Ventura.
All right. Remain standing and please raise your right hand.
Good morning, Miss Ventura. So that you know, you can drink that water that's on the stand. Oh, thank you. How old are you? I am 38 years old. What is your occupation? I'm a musician and entertainer. Miss Gavin, could you please publish Government Exhibit 2A101 in evidence for all the parties in the courtroom? Miss Ventura, who is depicted in the government's Exhibit 2A101? Sean Combs. How do you know Sean Combs? We were in a relationship for a little over 11 years, I would say. If I refer to Sean Combs as Sean today, will you know what I'm talking about? Yes. You said you were in a relationship with Sean for a little over a decade. During that period, were you together consistently or were there breaks during the relationship? There were breaks. During that same time, were there times where you got along well with Sean? Yes. Were there times where you did not? Yes. Without getting into the subject matter of those arguments, can you describe what arguments with Sean were like? If they were violent arguments, it would usually result in some sort of physical abuse, and dragging and just different things of that nature. When you say physical abuse, can you tell me what types of things that Sean did that hurt you physically? I mean, he would mash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down. How frequently was Sean physical with you during your relationship? I would say too frequently. Were you ever injured as a result of these incidents? Yeah. What kind of injuries did you have as a result of Sean being physical with you? Usually pretty similar. I would get knots in my forehead, busted lips, swollen lips, black eyes, the whites of my eyes would be red, bruises all over my body, just depending on. Okay, Miss Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom government exhibit 10C103 at 33 seconds? Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the screen in front of you. Do you recognize who's depicted in that still image? Yes, that's me and Sean. Do you recognize the location recorded in this still image? Yes, that's the Intercontinental Century City. What were you and Sean doing at the Intercontinental Century City? At the time of this image was captured, we were having an encounter that we call a freak-off, and I was leaving there. We're going to get back to that specific incident later on. You just mentioned the word freak-off, do you recall that? Yes. Who introduced you to the term freak-off? Sean did. And how did you learn what a freak-off was? Within the first year of our relationship, Sean proposed to me this idea, this sexual encounter, that he called voyeurism, where he would watch me to have intercourse and sexual activity with a third party, specifically another man. How did the term freak-off come about? I honestly don't remember exactly how it came about. Can you describe for the jury when you say the term freak-off what that entails? It basically entails the hiring of an escort and setting up this experience so that I could perform for Sean. And what did the performance involve at a high level? The performance involve? I'm sorry, it just involved watching Sean being able to watch me with the other person and, actually direct us on what we were doing sexually. And when you say the other person, who are you referring to? The third party, the escort or dancer that would be hired. Who was in charge of all the aspects of the freak-offs? You mentioned the hiring, the setup, etc. Eventually, it became a job for me pretty much, to where I knew that if that is something that he wanted to do, I had the contacts to set it up and get a hotel room and all of that. But in the beginning, Sean set it up and he was in charge. And after it became your job, how did you know what to do? He would tell me. When Sean first proposed freak-offs, what was your reaction? Oh, I just remember my stomach falling to my butt, just the nervousness and the confusion in that moment. I think I was 22 at the time. I had just turned 22. I didn't have a concept of how that would be a turn-on, but I also felt a sense of responsibility with him sharing something like that with me. So yeah, I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy. So yeah. Did you agree to try a freak-off when Sean first proposed one? I did. Were there more freak-offs after that? Yes, there were. How, if at all, did your willingness to engage in freak-offs with Sean change over time? I mean, pretty quickly over time. that I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to be doing especially as regularly as it became. But again, I was just in love and wanted to make him happy. Well, despite not wanting to do freak-offs, did you continue to engage in freak-offs with Sean? Yes, I did. And why did you continue to engage in freak-offs with Sean? He would ask me, he would bring it up at random times, and I think to a point, I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't really know what a no would be, or what a no could turn into. When you say you didn't know what no could turn into.
What do you mean by that?
Making him angry. Honestly, also making him uncomfortable that I knew this thing, and that I no longer wanted to do it. Can you repeat the question, please? Sure, you said that you didn't know what no could turn into, and I wanted to ask you if you could explain what you meant by that phrase. Ultimately, at that point, Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was my career, the way I dressed, like everything. Everything, and I just didn't feel like I had much say in it at the time. Being like really super young, naive, and total people pleaser. Yeah, I didn't know if he would be upset enough to be violent or if he would write me off and just not want to be with me at all. What, if anything, were you afraid would happen if you said no to a freak-off? Well, over time, it turned into the fact that there were actually blackmail materials to basically make me feel like if I didn't do it that I would be hung over my head in that way, or that these things would become public. I experienced violence with him before that. The abuse started before that, so obviously in the back of my mind. And Miss Ventura, when you say that the blackmail materials would be hung over your head, what, if anything, were you afraid Mr. Combs Sean would do with the blackmail materials? Release them, put them out on the internet. He had many resources to do that, so. And you mentioned that, at this point, violence had started. What, if anything, were you afraid would happen physically if you refused to do a freak-off? I mean, it was always in the back of my mind that I would somehow be hurt by him, but it's Sean, really a polarizing person, also very charming, so it's hard to be able to decide in that moment, like, what you need is, when he's telling you what he wants. I just didn't know what would happen. You said you called something blackmail materials. What were you referring to? Referring to actual videos and photos of the sexual encounters, the escort. To be clear, is that the freak-offs you mentioned earlier? Yes. Okay, and who was depicted in those videos and photos with the escorts? Me, Sean, and some of the videos, yeah. Okay, we're going to get back to this, but first I would like to direct your attention to approximately December 2023. What, if any, items did you provide to the government? I gave them broken laptops, iPads, phones, and things that no longer worked, but I kept them because I didn't know what was on them. And what was the approximate time period that these broken electronic devices were from? It was around the time period of being in a relationship with Sean. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Miss Ventura, I handed you what's been marked for identification as GXB. Do you recognize what I've handed you?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the contents of that drive?
I have.
At a high level, what's on that drive? Different communications and documents pertaining to this trial. Are those communications and documents from this electronic devices that we just discussed?
Yes.
And did you also review photographs that are contained on that drive?
Yes.
Are those photographs also from the electronic devices we just discussed?
Yes.
And how do you know that the drive I just handed you is the drive that you reviewed before this trial? Because my initials are on here. Did you initial the drive after you reviewed it?
I did.
Your Honor, at this time the government is going to offer some of the materials on that drive. We would offer the exhibits B101 through B112, B201 through B209, B301 through B13, B15, and B16, B3. 15 through B20, B400A through B42, B500A through B503, and B600A through B608, and all subdivisions thereof.
Any objection?
Subject to connection, no objection.
All right, they will be admitted.
Miss Gavin, can you please pull what's up in evidence as Government Exhibit B105s? Okay, Miss Gavin, could you please pull up and publish for the courtroom Government Exhibit 10C103 at 33 seconds. Miss Ventura, what's depicted in Government Exhibit B104? That is Carrie Morgan, Alice Rashi, Sean, myself, and we're on the outside patio in his room in Las Vegas on that trip. When you say that trip, which trip to Las Vegas are you referring to? 21st birthday, at the VMAs. When you say at the VMAs, can you explain what you meant of the VMAs? That was the event that was going on that weekend, the MTV Video Music Awards. And what if anything happened between you and Sean while you were in Las Vegas for your 21st birthday? A lot of different things happened, but he kissed me in the bathroom of his, or in the bathroom of this actual suite pretty early in the morning. We had been up, all of us, pretty late. What was your reaction to Sean kissing you in the bathroom? I think I was just really confused at the time again. Young new artist, just didn't really know the lay of the land when it came to things like that. So, in my confusion, just kind of cried and ran out. When you say you were a new artist who did not know the lay of the land, what did you mean by that? I just wasn't familiar with having an executive or anybody pay attention to me in that way and be forward at that point. I just didn't really understand it. I was pretty naive, I would say. When you say that way, can you clarify what you meant by that? Way in a more than friends way, in a sexual way, a romantic way. And at this time, at your 21st birthday, what was your professional relationship with Sean again? I was signed to his label. And what happened after Sean kissed you in bathroom? I just remember running out and headed back to my hotel. I think I told Carrie about it at the time, but I didn't really share it with anyone. Did you want Sean to kiss you at your 21st birthday? No, not at my 21st birthday. How, if at all, did your relationship with Sean change after your 21st birthday in Las Vegas? When we got back to New York, I would just visit with him. He would invite me over to his hotel. I think his apartment at the time was getting renovated. So I went to see him a handful of times. Which hotel did you go to see Sean at? The Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle is the one that I remember specifically at the same time. After your 21st birthday, what, if anything, were you doing with your music career? I was just focused on moving forward to the next album, continuing to record and come up with new concepts. Were you recording another album at the time? Yes. What influence, if any, did Sean have on your music career during that time? At that point, he was the one calling all the shots. Well, everything. If I had a new record, I'd bring it to him, and he'd decide what the next step was for me.